You can kill me, but you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Are you kidding? Why the hell should I wait for you?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
If you're having nightmares, then welcome to the club. My name's Subaru Natsuki, and I am the Knight of Amelia.
Right now, all I can give you is just death.
It wasn't for you in particular.
You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
If you are feeling disheartened, that you are somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze.
Good evening, I guess. I don't really know. I mean, it's a good evening for me. Welcome to, well, what is my usual Saturday routine at this point? Streaming, talking about anime, covering a little bit of news, and possible degeneracy and all that. So, this is a normal Saturday for me, not for everyone else, though. And, I feel a little tired, but we'll get into this. We'll have some fun. Honestly, I probably should have juiced myself up on some caffeine, but I didn't have any on hand. So, here we go. I mean, tonight, there are a couple of things, and one that is kind of like an optional thing, and I'll go over that in a little while. But basically, the primary stuff that we're going to be talking about is anime as per usual, talking about the week and everything that's gone on this week. An article from Niche Gamer that I didn't cover last week because I had friends on to talk about anime and stuff like that. About Republicans wanting to introduce a bill to define obscenity. A stupid story about a woman divorcing her husband after ChatGPT analyzed his coffee and said there were signs of infidelity there. And then we get to the actual degenerate part, which is a may or may not sort of happen sort of thing. Because I don't know, I guess we'll I don't know. We'll get to that one eventually, but that one might have to be like an after dark sort of thing. Oh no. I found a very interesting tier list, is basically what happened. A very, very interesting tier list. And I don't know, some people in the chat may end up enjoying it. Hello, JM, nice to see you. Particularly the gooner types, because yeah. So okay, you know what? I'll just bring it up and I'll just I'll just show what I found. I do not have anything ready to present. So I found this tier list ranking hentai tropes or tags. And I thought it would be absolutely hilarious, just as a meme, to go over this. So that might be something I do at the end of the night, and you'll probably learn more about me than you will ever want to know. But I'm a degenerate. I don't care anymore. Okay. Let's remove this from the stage for a bit. So yeah, that's pretty much the gooner topic for the night. Everything else is generic anime stuff, stupid AI bullshit, and yeah. But let's talk about anime. There we go. The big bad subject for the night. all the usual anime rankings. Did that with another community before. Yeah, but I've never done it around here, and I'm bored and felt like being an absolute degenerate tonight because I stumbled upon it after about 2 glasses of wine, and it was too funny to me to not do something about it. So, but that's for later. That's for later. Let's talk specifically anime, and a good place to start with today's rankings would basically be with I'm the evil lord of an intergalactic empire, because as long as we're talking about like hentai tags and stuff like that, harem definitely falls in. And today's episode of Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire was entirely focused on Liam being coaxed by everyone around him to build a massive harem. He comes up with like all of these ideas of how he's going to be like this evil, rich, sleazy douchebag. And it turns out like the harem thing is fairly normal. It turns out like his ideas aren't really all that well thought through. But yeah, this entire episode was effectively just dedicated to Liam, or everyone trying to convince Liam to be a like the biggest womanizing douche of all time, because he needs an heir. You need an heir. It was great, genuinely. Like you have the whole series like outright like heavily pushing a harem, and I respect that. So I'm moving that up a couple of slots because harems are better than love triangles. They always will be. Fuck love triangles, and I'm probably going to keep saying that for quite a while because I hate love triangles. Did I mention I hate love triangles? Should probably say a little bit more of the hello. So yeah, Marcel, hello. RG Energy, nice to see you. D-Day Direwolf, it's been a while since I've seen your name in my chat. I appreciate it. And the questioners. Welcome, everyone. So yeah. That's really all I have to say about it. Is like right at the end, we do get the princess like waking up from what is effectively a nightmare of her existence after everything that was done to her. He's an isekai protagonist. I wouldn't respect him if he didn't have a harem. It doesn't matter if he's an evil lord. He's an isekai protagonist. The isekai protagonist and harem are basically like hand in hand. Yes, harems are based. They are absolutely based. This episode did end up kind of feeling like it was running a little bit long because it spent a lot of time on that like harem discussion and going back and forth. And it kind of felt like the whole thing was padded a little bit. That's my one complaint about it. But overall, I thought it was hilarious to watch them basically argue as to argue about like he should have more than just the robot girl to service him. If only real life harems were real. I mean, they are. They just don't go as they just don't go as well as a lot of they just don't go well as a lot of fictional things go, because when you have a relationship with more than one people, things get kind of crazy. Also, someone tuning in on Twitch, I don't know, I feel like harems can take away from the plot a lot of times. It depends on how they're done. Some harems are genuinely pretty shit. And can, yeah, drag the plot and make things overcomplicated. But I'd much prefer that to overly done romantic, like will they, won't they drama kind of stuff. That's why I do not like love triangles. They are just be 6 foot, jacked, Riz, and money, and maybe commit a crime or two in there. Look at Renter from 100 Girlfriends. Guy works himself to death. 100 Girlfriends is peak. Like peak harem comedy romance. It's great. I love that show. We'll move on, though, because I don't really have much else to say about the evil lord of an intergalactic empire. I do have a few things to say about an unaware Atelier Meister that we've been talking about quite a bit lately. So, kind of along the same formula as we've been getting, like for every one of these episodes, Kurt does something ridiculous that knocks everyone's socks off. I don't really know what's going on because things just going crazy. We're talking about seasonal anime. Just to answer that question. Basically, I do this every week, and I just started doing it on Twitch again here, like for the first time in forever. Where I will watch a bunch of stuff, watch a bunch of anime for the week, and then talk about the episodes and how I feel about the series overall in comparison to everything else. So this is effectively where we're at. But yeah. There is mention of the dragon girl in this episode, Hildegard, and that seems to be a huge thing. And now we have this weird-ass demon chick coming after them. What do you mean nice to see the Apothecary Diaries? If Apothecary Diaries isn't one of, if not the best anime for anyone this season, I don't know what's going wrong in your brain. But yeah. We'll get to that eventually because it is on the list and we do got to talk about it now that it's come back after a week break. So again, this is as far as Atelier Meister goes, it is a series that is just generally kind of like, I find enjoyment in it, but it's not like amazing or anything. I have issues with its writing. It can be pretty janky. It is following a trope that's becoming increasingly popular. Animation doesn't really impress me all that much. I'm not really invested in the characters, but I do get mild entertainment out of it. And that's why I continue to watch it. That's effectively where I am. It's enjoyable, genuinely. But I will be one of the first to tell you that like it can feel pretty generic and half-assed at times. So yeah, don't have much else to say about the Unaware Atelier Meister. Next on the list, Yandere Dark Elf. These are short episodes, so there isn't really ever like a huge amount of content to go over when it comes to this, but we have Belle freaking out about a cold, and her and Sakura. I don't remember her name. Basically taking care of him. So it's the cold episode of the rom-com where someone gets sick and they're all like, they decide to take care of them. It's a bonding moment. The only question I have is like, I can kind of understand why you would censor like the lady's nipples or that part, but for a dude with his shirt off, why did you censor the dude? I don't know. I guess like there are some people who make that argument that it should be censored both ways or uncensored both ways. I feel like there's a little bit of nuance lost in that kind of an opinion, but it was one of those things that struck me as weird. This is another one again that I would say is just kind of like and I'm really only watching it because I have a thing for elves, okay? When we get to the other tier list, we'll talk about that. I want to keep this on hand because I'm going to need something to drink later in the night. I know, right? Life is so unfair. But yeah, this one is, again, kind of staying down here. There's really no reason for me to move it up because it is a trashy show. There's no way around it. But I enjoy it for personality. You can't see my hands because the thing is camera angles. I'll have to work on that when I eventually set up a new studio. The beginning after the end would be the next one on the list. And this is one where, like, I can't really give it too much praise because whoever was handling this just really, really dropped the ball overall. It's not been good. You appreciate it for the huge tract of land. There have been some story beats with the beginning after the end that I have liked, but I can't say I really give the series too much credit considering how it's fumbled so much else. So we have the family reunion in this episode finally, at the expense of an entire training arc that probably would have been a little bit useful to the story to show how far Arthur has gotten along. And also given us a point, like a good place to actually explain how the power system works. Unlike what goes on in this episode, where we basically get like a side note to explain how everything goes. All of this probably could have been done mid-training episode if they had decided to actually give us some time during that period. Pardon me. However, we basically just get another info dump to update the power system to tell you how all the scaling works and how strong people really are, how talented people really are. And then we get a fight that actually has some movement for once. Like a proper fight between Reynolds and Arthur. Not its worst episode by far, but this show, like, Studio A-Cat shot themselves in the foot real bad with the way they have been adapting this. Like, there's no way around it. And it's hard to really like get into it after the abysmal display that it is for the first 5 episodes. Like episodes 1 through 5 are some of the some of the hardest things to watch, honestly. And then it starts to get better as it gets to like the Elf Kingdom and you start talking about that kind of stuff. But like it still really doesn't have like any like serious emotional impact. And Marcel, you are right. Yes. The parents did kind of feel really cold. Like they've been missing their son for like 3 years. Yeah. And it feels like their welcoming him back was really, really anticlimactic. I thought this was going to be a big emotional reunion, but it felt really underwhelming. And this is another thing like I've complained about is the characters don't give me a real like good reason or any emotional hook to them. I'm not invested in them. And that makes it incredibly hard to be invested in the narrative and the story and the anime overall because, well, the one thing that makes like a really good anime is your characters having some sort of emotional hook. Like to quote the one I just started watching tonight, Uma Musume, you need someone to root for in a series. And this one just doesn't have it. It doesn't have that character who really grabs you, who like makes you want them to succeed. It's not like you're rooting on anyone's downfall like you would in a poorly written Marvel movie or something. But in this, like you're genuinely failing to sell your characters when they could have good arcs. That's the biggest like sin of all of this. Even more so than its abysmal anime or animation. My mom was more affectionate after a weekend at my grandma's house. Yeah. That sounds about right. It was, and then of course, like the last point is we get the new girl who seems to be like super jealous of Arthur. And like she is like super like reserved or whatever around everyone, and like her parents really, really want her to be a sorcerer, but she just hasn't achieved it yet. And then Arthur rolls up and basically like is her parents are like fawning over him. It's kind of a douchey thing to do, but so be it. So yeah, the beginning after the end can stay down here. I ain't moving it up or down. It's stuck in this position. Let's move on to another one in the okay category. Please put them on Miss Takamine. So we get a full introduction to Ellie this week. Ellie Evergreen or whatever her name was. It was something that sounded like really, really basic white bitch kind of stuff. And this dumbass blonde girl is enjoyable to have around. I genuinely do find her like a fun personality to have on screen. It also seems to imply that Takamine doesn't have objections to sex outside of the fact that she's like embarrassed by the idea of it. And it kind of makes me more confident in the assertion that Eternal Virgin Road is just a name and has nothing to do with how her ability actually functions. And I like this episode, but it still feels like it could do better. Yes, great underboob from Blondie. There are a lot of great things we got from Blondie in this episode, and I'm kind of glad that Crunchyroll didn't go out of its way to censor it. I remember reading up to this point, I think, in the manga. I've said this before, but I keep like getting to parts and being like, oh wait, I've read this actually. I know how this goes. So somewhere here in the near future is where I stopped reading this manga. So like I knew that Takamine was going to show up out of nowhere while he's talking to this girl, and she was going to have this whole like misunderstanding over like what they were actually doing in the park, and she's going to think that they were boning. Meanwhile, they were just having a water balloon fight, which that's a really interesting misunderstanding. But hey, to each his own. And of course, there were a couple of shots of Takamine's overactive imagination, which were nice. But this is yet another one that's going to stay in the okay. It's a better written ecchi than a lot of the ones that have come out in recent memory. I can't say for Gushing Over Magical Girls because I never ended up watching that one fully. But as compared to a lot of the other ecchi series that are out right now and the ones that have come out in like the past, I don't know, 2 seasons, this one's probably the one that I would say is the best written. It's the one that's given its characters the most depth, the most like personality, and they don't just specifically focus on sexuality. There's actually a level of personhood to them, I guess I could say it that way. There are qualities to it that genuinely make me actually like interested in what's going on. But otherwise, I mean, it's still like a closer to the bottom end of the spectrum of ecchi anime overall. So it's staying in okay. Don't worry. I have people who have already been encouraging me. So I didn't watch it all the way through. As far as Gushing Over Magical Girls goes, I watched the first 4 episodes and then ended up setting it aside. I have been encouraged to, actually go and watch the rest of the series, so maybe I will at some point here, especially if it's getting a season 2 from what I've heard. I've been told it's getting a season 2, so if that comes out, I'll probably catch up on that much like I've done with a couple of the other shows that have come out this season. So yeah, that crosses off the beginning after the end. Please put them on. All right, let's move on to one that isn't an ecchi. We'll talk about the Too Perfect Saint, because this is one that has so I've been assigned homework by Marcel now, huh? We'll see. It's Memorial Day here in the United States, so I have an extra day to my weekend that I should be able to use for some of that stuff. But I got a couple of things I need to watch to catch up on. I'll see if I can cram it in there on top of everything else I need to do on a day off. Ain't no rest for the wicked. Pardon my singing. Okay, Too Perfect Saint. Really good twist this episode, if you ask me. The second prince is getting like really, really close to his full on like psychotic break where he just goes and finds the ring and becomes a fucking monster. And we have the exorcist lady actually becoming a real part of the story this time around. I wondered if they were going to do anything with that or if she was just going to be a random character who shows up and then never appears again, because that has happened in anime before. They've done stuff like that. But it's nice to see that she has come in and actually started working directly with Philia because of all the stuff that's been happening. But genuinely, like, what a twist with this latest episode. The whole thing about like Philia's parents and all that, and I like that kind of stuff. It may be a little contrived. Like, genuinely, like, I don't know who all knows this about me, but I have done a little bit of like fiction writing myself in the past. And no, you cannot find it anywhere because I privated the blog where I actually posted that stuff. Crimson lore drop in the middle of a stream here. But with this anime, but I guess the novel got adapted for that. Yeah. But for this, I did like how they did this. I thought it had a good emotional hook for all the characters, and it sort of added another layer to everything that's been going on. And for that, I specifically do want to bring it up to the very good, not the very, very good, the very good category. Now you got me interested in the blog. Like I said, you can't find it. It's private now. But I have started writing again and doing sort of like a web novel thing. It's just a matter of finding time to actually sit down and write and draft and everything for that, because that's more intensive than a video. A video I can sit down and write a script for in an hour. Even like a long one will take me like 2 hours. If I do it all in one go. Writing fiction is a whole other beast. But I do eventually want to get back to it and like start writing some stuff myself. Even though who knows how that'll go. Plans for the future. Anyway, I like this. As much as you might be able to argue that the twist there with the previous saint, Hildegard, was contrived, you could argue that is a contrived plot twist, and it's just like it may be adding too much, but I personally really liked it because, like I said, it adds another layer to the emotional hook of the characters. It adds some level of depth. It expands upon the betrayal of the parents and all of that. So it is genuinely like a good twist, something that I think has bumped this one up a whole category for it. And also, hello, Biggles. I talked about how I'm going to be doing a degeneracy tier list later in the night. And drop some lore about my old fiction blog, and otherwise have basically just been ranking anime all night. What kind of degen? Well, I'm planning on ranking hentai tropes. That's a thing to say. That's an end of the night thing, though. That is like a after dark segment. That is, I don't know. I considered doing like a members only thing. Well, I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just do it anyway. We'll see. Okay. Let me explain. I stumbled upon this tier list after a couple of glasses of wine. Yeah. I thought it was too hilarious to pass up. Also, hello, Anime Aizawa. Thank you for tuning in. But I think that I've wrapped up my thoughts on Two Perfect Saint. We'll move on to The Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadow. So, we're basically getting the start of the hospital arc with this, and we got some new like intro visuals. Um, the redheaded dude being an absolute cocky bastard and getting shown up was the most predictable thing that was going to happen, but I still enjoyed it because watching those types of characters get their comeuppance is always very entertaining to me. And now we have, of course, this whole like vice leader who is like in a war to gain control of this hospital for whatever reason. And he has this massive faction of people who support him. And I don't know, something about it, just like it feels like it's a false flag effectively, where like you're dealing with a you're dealing with a misleading villain effectively. Someone said this was a great episode of Healer, and I wanted to say, are we even watching the same show? I don't think there really is a good episode of Healer, like in like the actual sense of good. There are just enjoyable episodes of Healer. Not the first episode though. The first episode is a hard to swallow pill. But basically, it's just the only thing that's changed is the setting. I think it's just sort of a temporary thing. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this whole thing. Either way, Brilliant Healer continues to be a fuster cluck that I enjoy, but can't really defend on any sort of merit other than I like it. Like, the story's not all that amazing. This one follows the same trope as a couple of other anime, like Two Perfect Saints, Atelier Meister, and a couple of other anime from the past couple of seasons. Yeah, it has funny moments, like Camilla causing a zombie horde. Sure. But I would never say that this is like a well done show. It has interestingly good animation for like 10-second bursts at a time in random episodes. Like the staff decides that they're going to actually take things seriously, but then they just decide that no, not interested. We're gonna cop out on this one. So this one will continue to be at the very bottom for me for the season, for the foreseeable future, I should say. I shouldn't say for the season. There could be something really, really good coming up. Who knows? Things change. I'm pretty sure last season I had Daima in just about every one of these categories that was on here at the time. But one that just... Yeah, Camilla's an entertaining character. But I still even wouldn't really say I'm like super endeared to her or like that I'm like super invested in her as a character. It's just like she's an interesting trope. She's funny. Mirth, not joy. It's a temporary happiness. Okay, Apothecary Diaries, the one that never moves because it's always peak fiction. So lots of what we kind of already knew and had established that I had to basically spell out for Biggles. Was confirmed in this episode pretty much. We get an interesting cliffhanger with the way that certain characters meet and show up here. And it leaves me to wonder what exactly is all of the plan that these people have going. Especially like, where do these Western diplomats come into all of this? I don't quite know who the new lady is, but she's no one good. That's for damn sure. It's funny how Mao Mao also managed to like accidentally stumble into a hornet's nest while just investigating some random things that she thought were peculiar. either way, things are like really, really working towards the climax of the season. I'm really looking forward to this because it's really started to tie everything together. It's really started to make like all the plot threads become something, and I'm wondering if we're gonna basically get left on red right as a civil war is gonna break out, or if something's going to intervene and prevent said civil war. Shut the fuck up. I have something for that. Hold on a second. Where is it? This is the official fucking Biggles clip right here.
Silence, you glorified wad of trash, or I'll squash you like a roach!
You are a child. So yeah. I don't really know if there's much to comment on this because a lot of what was in here was basically just confirming everything we thought or already knew or had established. While like moving it a little bit forward in the next thing and trying to set up the climax of the season. So I can't really like do a bunch of deep commentary on it. One, because I don't want to do a bunch of spoilers, and two, because I've said my piece already. So Apothecary Diary still number one for spring anime. That hasn't changed whatsoever. Let's move on down the list. I guess. And here's the thing is either Shisui is much more unaware of what's going on here, or this is all some sort of bait because they're trying to draw Jinshi out. And that's why they're kind of unconcerned, is basically Mao Mao is a distraction for something else that's going on. And they know she has ties to Jinshi, and that is my current theory on it. Okay. But that's all. That is literally the last I will say on this, at least for now. Fire Force. I want to move on to Fire Force because we meet the seventh pillar in this episode, and we get a lot of talk about the doppelgangers and stuff. Still kind of struggling overall, if you ask me, because the animation just isn't up to the same level as like season 1 and 2, since a lot of the staff has left the studio. But we did get the adventures of Arthur Boyle, and I like Arthur as a character. I find him really, really funny. So I will move this up just because like I do genuinely enjoy the Arthur shenanigans this episode. I don't think I blame you. Fire Force is one of the weaker shonens that are out there. I enjoy it for certain elements of it, but its story feels very rough. Effectively, it's the story of Fire Force feels like a rough draft rather than a final draft. It feels like the author didn't have like the overall plot for the story reviewed by anyone and then just decided that they were going to run, which can work. You can get lucky like that sometimes. But I feel like it lacks a lot of like detail and depth that would have helped it. And especially with this season lacking the animation prowess of the previous two, it just doesn't feel the same and hasn't lived up to the same standards. So this episode was fun for Arthur shenanigans, not much else. And we will move right along because this one's going up a couple because I enjoyed it, but it will probably fluctuate more as we get more episodes. Kowloon Generic Romance. Again, it's one of the weaker ones. I wouldn't blame people for not watching it because I feel like it's one that got pretty overhyped. So while I enjoy it, not the most amazing. Kowloon generic romance, though. Things are really starting to get like intense with this one too. We do learn that like a little bit more about like generic Terra, about second Kowloon, and Reiko herself. We learn a lot of things about that kind of stuff, actually. But there are more and more questions that come out of this. And considering the state of her existence, it makes me question what the book was. Like, was the book just a projection of her mind, or is there some sort of like link to reality through that? And yeah, absolutely. There was a lot to like about her in bed. That was, trust me, that'll be something that we can go over a little bit later when we do the other tier list, the degenerate tier list. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, like we got like full on like some good stuff there. When it comes to fan service stuff, I would much more prefer what we got with the ending of this episode of Kowloon Generic Romance rather than anything else. Crimson will be right up there with Roman. No. I'm not that degenerate, okay? I am not that degenerate. But that's a conversation for later. I'm still kind of lost in this as to like what's going on with like the plot. Like, where are they going this? How are they going to resolve? The jury's still out as to whether they're going to like have a tragic or a happy ending for this one. But I feel like it's leaning more towards the tragic side given the way that like things have played out thus far. And I still like it. It's building on that mystery of generic Terra. It's still like doing good with its characters and all that. But we get a lot more of the outside perspective now that they're working into like the actual mysteries of Kowloon. So I guess we will. Since we're up here at the top, let's talk about Sword of the Demon Hunter. This was an interesting episode. Like, firstly, for some reason, I didn't realize that Ofu and Natsu were actually friends and got along together and spent time together. That was an interesting point. I don't know. I think the sign of I don't know what the sign of a good hentai would be. That's a good question. That is a deep philosophical question that we will have to answer later. Sword of the Demon Hunter, though, we also get the Shadow Master guy who basically has the power of Megami Fushiguro from Jujutsu Kaisen. He can use Shinigami or Shikigami. And of course, we do have Natsu basically being forced to impersonate Suzune, which is an interesting thing. Is it Shikigami dude doing it, or is it someone else? And why specifically is she impersonating Suzune? Is this just like a reflection of Jinya's mind or his thoughts about like what he desires or whatever? Or is this someone else manipulating things? It was a good episode. We get to see a little bit of like actual action stuff, and we meet Harlot the Harlot. I'm really interested to see how this whole fight plays out. Because that's basically where this episode ends, on a cliffhanger, as 2 demon hunters are about to go toe-to-toe. Yaiba would be the next on the list. It is also up here on the top, and we finished the Kojiro fight in this one. I expected this to go longer, but, well, they decided to do it. We also learned the fact that Musashi discovered the secret to immortality, to longevity, at the very least, to existing for longer than 400 years. And it is a desire for upskirt shots, apparently. Pervy old man trope. We don't get a whole lot of those anymore. That's kind of a trope that like faded out with some of the older shonens. Interesting how that worked. It does leave me kind of curious to see how the show is going to proceed from here, because we basically run through all of the obvious villains. So now they're going to have to make up a bunch of villains for this. Pardon that. Still recovering from the copious amounts of wine I drank at dinner with the family. Whew. I thought you had a couple of those people in the US receiving social care. Yeah, a few. There are a few people like that. I have no doubt. Which ones are we talking about here? Are we talking like Stan Lee, who passed away already? Are we talking, I don't know, like a former president or something? Hugh Hefner? Who are we talking about here? I'm curious to see. Basically, with Yaiba, this is another one where, like, okay, how are they going to drag this out going forward? I shouldn't say drag it out. How are they going to continue this on going forward without feeling like they're just throwing fodder at Yaiba? That's the question I have after this latest episode. A rank party. I feel like is devolving back down into an okay anime. Like, it basically peaked with like yeah, we should get back to anime after that, Marcel. I feel like it peaked somewhere like in the middle of what we've currently watched, and since then it's kind of been like repeating its success effectively. It feels like it's the same thing over and over and over again, and there's really nothing new going on. It's basically just the same stakes, the same kind of mission, the same characters doing the same thing. I feel like almost nothing has changed outside of the number of chicks in the harem. And while I do not dissuade big harems because they're based, this one feels boring because I'd rather have seen the like original girls and get some like proper like in-depth character development, like their motivations and all that. And the most we've gotten thus far is Rain. Like, we kind of get a little glimpse into her background. Her family basically disowned her because she's an illegitimate child and all that, and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Everyone else, though, haven't really learned much about them, or like why Luke is, or Yuke, I should say, is so important to them. And then, of course, we have Rune being jealous that she's not considered among Yuke's wives and all that. And it's, look, it had a good run for a little bit, and then it decided it was just going to suck. Especially with like the boring ass escape scene that we got in this, where they started running and all like the dinosaurs and scorpions decided to chase them. Oh, they skipped the bandit fight. That's another thing that I thought was wrong with this episode, is they leave us on a bandit fight cliffhanger. And then they never actually do the bandit fight. It just kind of skips over the whole thing. So A-rank party can go back down to the okay category, honestly. I do not feel like it belongs anywhere higher right now, especially considering it wants to just retread the same plot arc over and over and over again and just add a new girl to the harem every single time. From Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. That's the next one on the list. Because I didn't watch Shoshimin, I actually chose to watch the first episode of Uma Musume over Shoshimin, okay? Just to live up to my statement that I would at least try to check it out this week. So there. Uma Musume, we will talk about it tonight. But first, we got to get through a lot of other anime. Master Swordsman, or From Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. This is basically the Alicia's feelings episode, where she decides if she's able to, beat Beryl in a sword fight, that she will confess her feelings to him. And we did get a good fight out of that, like a decently interesting one that actually focused on like properly. Well, this whole series focuses on like good sword choreography, so I respect it. But Beryl's effectively just a big dense dummy, and that's nothing new. Because, I mean, obviously, Miui would know more about romance and all that than Beryl. I like this show. I genuinely do. But I do not feel like it, I feel like it might be dragging its feet a little bit. That isn't necessarily bad. It's just after the last episode being effectively a nothing burger, this new episode does actually do some stuff. It actually has some like plot point development and character work and all that. I don't know. This one like fluctuates in my opinion. Like it can be like a good episode with a nice fight and like some really like a climactic battle, and then you can get something that just kind of trudges around the city for a little while and doesn't do much. So I enjoy it, but it's going to stay here in the interesting category. It's going to be right here. Witch Watch. Now, Witch Watch I feel personally attacked by, because the first half of this episode is a YouTuber parody. Pardon me. Struggling there. Sorry. Okay, back to business. This is the first part of this I feel personally called out about because YouTuber parody. It basically does this whole thing where it goes through like some of the basic ideas of how you do YouTube, about how your thumbnails matter, the way you title things. My YouTube is under attack. Oh no. Yeah. I did still find it funny because it basically makes fun of people who like start up a channel because they think it's going to be fun and easy, and then they realize how much work it actually takes to like sort of like produce good content, and they fall off. Now, I will not say that being a YouTuber is like, or a live streamer is a like incredibly strenuous job. Me getting to sit here and have an excuse to binge anime all day Saturday and then come and talk about it to an audience of people, that is not a hard life, honestly. And it is much easier than the stuff that I actually do for a living. My back is still sore from the last couple of days of laying flooring. It hasn't been fun. Not like that's been the hardest thing. It's just physically taxing. This is easy, but it's not as easy as a lot of people who haven't done it would think, because editing actually takes a little bit of work, and a little bit, and like posting YouTube stuff actually takes a little bit of know-how, and to this point it also takes a little bit of luck. Like sometimes you put like your blood, sweat, and tears into making something and it goes nowhere. Sometimes you cobble together some slop and it pops off. Shut the fuck up, muffler tape. I will blow your back out. You keep talking like that. You fucking fossil. The Cretaceous called. They want you back. But yeah, to get off the YouTube high horse, it's a much easier job than retards would tell you it is, but it is by no means something you can be completely lazy about. There has to be some level of intentionality and dedication to it. It does take effort, and that's the part that will turn a lot of people off, is because they think, oh well, I'll just get big by posting slop, and then their slop doesn't take off. We do get the whole traditional arts thing of basically like Nico linking Moe to this girl and having him do all of the actions. Only for her to like dramatically fail this test, because like everyone thinks she's like super high class and all that, but she's just a clumsy dolt. So she tries to cheat. It doesn't really go well up until Moe decides he's going to capture a hornet with a glorified soup ladle. So what you're saying is the hot tub e-thought channel numbers aren't the norm? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, let's be honest. How many people are out there who probably do that kind of content and don't get viewed, who you've never heard of? Their luck is kind of a skill in this. But I'll leave it there. And to finish up the Witch Watch, we have Loser Dude, who is basically the I was here before it was popular kind of guy, which I thought was entertaining. Yeah, the tea ceremony was funny. I love this show because is there a clip of me now? There is a clip of me now. Okay. I don't give a shit. There's gonna be more clip material to come. I don't care. So yeah, Witch Watch, I genuinely like it. It's always been fun to watch, and it's consistently gotten better with certain episodes actually really hitting hard with the way it's done, like romance and like the relationship between Nico and Moe. Good stuff. Okay, let's move on down the list because, oh boy, we still got a fair few to go through. And Shirley would be the next one to talk about. So in this one, we actually see Anne finally change her hairstyle. And like I said, would probably be the case if she just changed her hairstyle. She looks good. And of course, we do have a bit of a time skip in there. They go from her being like 11 or 12 to like 15. So she's a little bit grown up, and now she's moving along into like other schools and like higher education and all that. We still occasionally see Gilbert show up here and there, but like it kind of feels like he's fallen out of the plot, at least until they decide they want to bring him back for some big thing later. It was a pretty tame episode. I can't say I'm really like huge on like the poetry stuff they did, but as far as like moving along to a new time period, that part was interesting. I can't say I would move this up, but I did enjoy this latest episode. It's as simple as that. All right, now let's talk about the one that hurt me this week. A ninja and an assassin under one roof. Hold up. She still has to grow those bangs, but she does love to keep them at 2 centimeters. It frustrates me. So, a ninja and assassin in another world. Fuck. A ninja and his assassin under one roof. There we go. This episode this week was sad, really. Like, they did a lot of work to set up basically a really depressing ending. And the way the friend responds to it, this is supposed to be like a funny, like, comedy anime. It's not supposed to hurt. Why do you do this to me? Why do you give me depression? Why do you make me sad? God. I'm moving it up. It was a really good episode, but it was one that just hurt so much. Like, they do this whole thing, like setting up the characters and everything, and then they give you the kill order. I'm just like, shit. Fuck you too. Like, thanks for being an asshole. But that's really all I'll say about this. If you're not watching a ninja and assassin under one roof, it's good, like genuinely good. But I would not say that you should expect it to constantly be all laughs and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And I do appreciate that. I had a little bit of hope that that might be the case, but now it's gone. Now I'm just sad. All right. Let's move on because I don't want to think about the depression anymore. Let's talk Lazarus. So, effectively, my theory about all of this was kind of right, and how they're trying to show you Skinner's perspective on the world and everything that was going on. We also do know that the head bitch in charge of Lazarus had something to do with Skinner. Like, and then they start talking about Axel like he's the key to everything. I do genuinely enjoy this show. It's been an experience, but I don't think it's Shinichiro Watanabe's greatest work. I'm fucking thinking Skinner is right. I like the way it show. I like a lot of the ways it's written. It's just hard. It's a hard thing to palate because a lot of Shinichiro Watanabe's projects are less message oriented. This one is pretty heavily like centered on the message of all of humanity's sins, everything we have done to each other, to just like existence in general. And it poses a pretty philosophical question in does humanity deserve to survive in spite of all of this? I do like that part of it. I think it's pretty well written, pretty well animated. It's just one of those where it's kind of like hard to swallow. And it's doing a Thanos pretty much, where it's presenting the villain's logic in a way that might be convincing to people who don't have morals. It is effectively trying to justify Skinner killing the entire human race. As like the right thing because humanity is bad, but that isn't a very unnuanced way to look at things. It's very black and white. to some extent, like there are some issues in those departments. I do feel like people use that as a soapbox a lot, though, and they don't realize what they're actually saying or what they're talking about. Because like I was listening to at work. I'll take a little bit of sidetrack here. At work, I was listening to a guy talk about PFAS, and that's an acronym for a chemical that is everywhere now, or a group of chemicals actually that is everywhere now. It was used to manufacture Teflon, which is a very useful substance. But PFAS, or forever chemicals, as you would, they're pretty harmful. We do a lot of damage without thinking. That's the point I'm getting at here, and it's one of those things where like humanity does a lot of stupid things. And I can understand where Skinner is coming from, but like I said, you have to have no morals to think he's in the right. You have to have no morals to think that that vindicates killing all of humanity. It does not. Just like Thanos trying to make a better world for the universe by killing half of everyone, by snapping them out of existence, that does not make him the good guy. Just because he had a sort of logic to what he was doing does not make his reasons right. It does not make him right. Same with Skinner. Skinner's the bad guy, and sympathizing with him is stupid. You have to have zero morals to do that. It surprised me being a little message heavy, but interesting that he got the drug the way he did. Yeah. So I do enjoy Lazarus, but like I said earlier, not Shinichiro Watanabe's best project. At least not the best project that I've watched. Aharen Season 2. We'll knock this one out right fast. So what the fuck is up with Mr. Brownhair in this one? For once, we actually see Aharen get like super duper excited and actually talk in a normal voice for once. And of course, we have the whole thing with the souvenir and all that, and with Raido's little sister being like really happy to receive it and know that her brother's thinking about her. But like Mr. Brownhair in this, the friend, he is like, what is his deal? Like, is he jealous that Raido got a girlfriend? Is he like upset that like his friend is hanging out with this chick? What the fuck is your problem, dude? Get over yourself. Or did you just have a thing for Raido and never capitalized on it? Of course, humans do bad things, but wipe them out completely for this. Go F yourself. Don't need your propaganda. Yeah. I respect the decision. So as far as Aharen goes, I'm going to leave it right there. I don't want to move it up or down. These later episodes have been kind of like eh. The big exciting point for this one was basically Aharen acting like a normal person for a little bit when she got excited about going to the theme park with her boyfriend. Vigilantes, though, poked a lot of fun at Pop Step fans. Basically making a big yeah, he is a good wingman, but like now he wants to act all like jealous and forsaken and all that. Like, I don't know. That rubs me the wrong. But yes. That is effectively her and Koichi making fun of each other over like how people responded to them. That was funny. Pop Step gets really, really jealous of this college girl because she has a thing for Koichi. And then of course we get the whole polygraph girl thing, who thinks she's finally nabbed one of the vigilantes, only to get absolutely demolished by the fake name. I love this show, and the way they're handling like Koichi's like powers and actually making him able to like fight and like come up with interesting strategies on how to use it. I enjoy that part. Yeah, Popstep being jealous and trying to like just like stalking him around and being upset at him all the time. I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed this episode. But I feel like they could have done a little bit more to like progress a story. And there is one thing I do need to like deviate from this for, like soccer as a quirk. Soccer as a quirk. Look, I know My Hero Academia powers are like retarded, but this is a whole other level of stupidity. Soccer as a quirk. Come on. There is a lot of stuff that I will tolerate. But soccer as a quirk. I'm surprised that they actually like. Yeah, I'm surprised that slid by. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one, and this is actually one that I'm gonna drop because I don't feel like watching it all the way through. Moonrise. I'm actually gonna put it in the watch later category. So with Moonrise, I don't hate it. But I find myself every time lacking the motivation to get into it. And what that tells me is that I just don't like it enough to keep watching. So episode 10 is as far as I go for now. Maybe over these next couple of days, I finish it up. Who knows? But I just do not feel like I want to spend the time trying to polish this one off, because there are a bunch of other better anime that I can watch with that time. There are a bunch of other good things I can do with that time. And frankly, Moonrise doesn't compete with those interests. It's as simple as that. So it goes in the watch later category. I didn't hate it. I kind of enjoyed it. I just don't feel like watching the rest of it at this moment. It's as simple as that. All right. So shameless plug time, because I actually did a video on this one that released today. If I can get the there we go. We will paste the video there for anyone who feels like they want to watch it later on. But that is my video on Apocalypse Hotel. And in this episode, the Tanuki Loli shows her obsession with WMDs. We get them performing spaceflight with 70 years of work. And we end on a pretty dramatic cliffhanger with Yachiro getting stranded in space. Yeah, I know you did, Pickles. I genuinely like this show. Like, it's just good. And being able to go back and do a video on it and look at some of the other things again, I like it more on the second look through, even though it wasn't really a watch. I found Ponko like being really, really obsessed with the rod from God concept. Funny. And like she starts this whole propaganda campaign to like get a satellite set up with a orbital fucking kinetic energy missile. This chick reads a doomsday apocalypse journal, like some conspiracy theory BS, and decides, you know what? We need a chem strike. You know that thing from Call of Duty Ghosts? We need that. So I did genuinely enjoy Apocalypse Hotel this week. I thought it was funny. Food for the Soul. This is another one that I thought was funny. We got the whole Nana corpse launch in the gym and her getting bullied by a wave. So again, Nana being the best character, she's absolutely hilarious. We get an interesting heart to heart about like friendships and all that and like having memories and stuff. And then we have Mako sort of finally feeling like she fits in with a friend group and being nostalgic for the last time she actually had. Really, though, the fun part of this was basically everything that happened at Nana's expense. She got bullied by the ocean. We got to see her most embarrassing moment where she basically trips in gym class and goes flying. And, of course, we had the thing where she lets her bangs down and looks like an idiot. Yeah, I'm wondering about how they're going to do that too. It's an interesting choice, but who knows? We may get something cool out of it, or we may just get a big time skip where like, 50 years in orbit and I come back down to the hotel to see how everything's going. But Food for the Soul, I didn't. I enjoyed this episode. Windbreaker Season 2. So with Windbreaker Season 2, we get more fighting and we get a little bit more about like someone really, really wants Shizuka for some reason. A little bit of like Tsubaki character work. Still wondering when he's going to actually do some fighting for once. But the action was good. I like this. The suits guys. Yes, they're cool. And I'm really curious what this is all going towards because it feels like we're bound for like a season climax, but I don't feel like it's fully set up yet. Or we just get a cliffhanger into a season 3. Who knows? Either way, I enjoyed it because it was a lot of fighting. I do really like the animation for Apocalypse Hotel. It's genuinely good. Like, Apocalypse Hotel has just... It has been so much better than I expected it to be. And like I said in the video, I'm glad that my chat recommended it to me like a month ago or a month and a half ago, however long ago it was when I started watching this one. Because I've been very happy to watch it. The studio that's been handling it, they've done a great job illustrating and animating it. Windbreaker, though, going to stay right here. Mostly because I don't really truly care about like the Tsubaki stuff. I'm more interested in a lot of the fight stuff. I'm sure all of his lore will tie into this next arc or whatever, and we'll get some really good stuff with him. But like right now, I still don't really care much for the character. All right, so we have 3 more quick to touch on. To Be Hero X, still haven't watched. Sorry, I need to live up to that and catch up on that. And that's probably something for tomorrow and Monday. Super Cube is the second to last one to talk about. It's another one that I'm putting in the watch later category because I don't feel like trying to catch up on it right now. Like, I don't hate it or anything. I hate the dub of it. I don't hate the show in and of itself. But I just don't feel the motivation to try and catch up on this one. And if I can cull things from my watch list, I will gladly cull things from the watch list. That's where we're at. And that effectively sums up everything but Uma Musume. Look, man, I am a man with a lot of things going. I have a lot of things cooking. And sometimes I just don't end up I got behind on To Be Hero X, and I just haven't been able to catch up. But it's one that I do genuinely intend to catch up on within the next 2 days or so. So hopefully I'll be able to talk about it next week. But Uma Musume, that's what we're going to talk about now to finish off this week's anime rankings. Because I'm going to put it in the interesting category. So here is basically where I'm at. I've watched one episode, so don't judge me too harshly yet. I've watched one episode, and there's a good bit of promise to this. The animation is certainly good. I will not deny that the animation is good. I'm not really like super into the whole horse girl aesthetic, but much like with like Medalist, I do genuinely feel the sort of inspirational qualities of our main character. Hold on. There's a certain level of like, I can root for this character, for the main character. And I genuinely like her. She is a goofy idiot, and I find that entertaining. This one was going to be like in the okay category for the first episode. But towards the end of the first episode, it gets better. And it actually improved my impression of it. And if that continues, it may go up and up and up. This and To Be Hero X are ones that I do genuinely have to catch up on. I haven't seen enough of either of them to fully judge them yet, but this is where they are on their first episode. Hopefully, I probably won't be doing any streaming over this weekend. I will work on some videos and stuff, but I'm not going to be doing. I most likely will not be doing any sort of streaming unless I decide to do some like Minecraft or something. So most of that time will be spent watching the Clone Wars animated miniseries, catching up on To Be Hero To Be Hero X, and Uma Musume's Cinderella Grey. Which is interesting because I'm not like a huge fan of sports anime, but I'm intrigued. I want to see where this goes. So that's where we are at insofar as this week's anime rankings go. Really, I would say like the big points of interest for me were Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, Ninja and Assassin, Ninkoro, and Uma Musume, surprisingly. Those were the ones that really like got me going the most this week. All right. We'll remove that. And we'll move on into some news talk now. Because there are a couple of articles that I do want to cover a little bit, depending on how long they are. This isn't very long. So we're going to talk about everyone's favorite pro-censorship American political party, the Republican Party. So let's talk. This came out last week. Republican senator introduces bill to define obscenity may pose risk to video games and anime. This is another thing, like, I talked about this with, like, the Texas bill, where, like, there are still, like, legal precedents and everything. There's a lot of shit that's going to have to happen in order for this to pose a risk to video games and anime. But I do not see that as a reasonable excuse to ignore censorship whatsoever. Being truthful about it is important, but calling out retardation is important. So, a Republican senator has introduced a bill titled S-1671, a bill to define obscenity for purpose of purpose of the Communications Act of 1934 and for other purposes. The bill has been introduced by Senator Mike Lee, Republican from Utah, Mormon state, by the way, making it the latest in right-wing attacks against media. A Republican bill in Texas, which could have potentially made watching Goblin Slayer a felony, has been stalled in the state legislature earlier this year. This is another one that I think is overblown. This is the one I was just talking about, where I actually read the law and stuff as far as it is written, and it does not seem like it actually applies to anything that's there. You can go back and kind of check out all of my commentary on that and everything that I talked about for that. Shadiversity at it again. He's from New Zealand, not or Australia, one of the two. Not Utah, but I get the Mormon reference. So let's continue on. Current media is given a lot of leeway when it comes to explicit, grotesque, or otherwise objectionable content. Yes, I do think that should be permissible. This leeway has allowed Americans to create and produce nearly whatever we want, with only a few exceptions. Currently, a law against obscenity exists in the form of the Communications Act of 1934. You forgot a quotation mark here. Man, your editors fucking suck. While restrictions on obscenity are still on the books, some consider them to be unenforceable for First Amendment reasons. And the current obscenity currently obscenity is defined by what's called the Miller test. The Miller test is a series of 3 qualifications which potentially remove First Amendment protections from potentially obscene speech. Whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find the work taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest. Whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct or excretory functions specifically defined by applicable state law. What the fuck? Is that like a Twitch bot or something? Hold on. Give me a second. I guess I just don't have this up. Okay. Whatever. We'll continue on. Whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So those are the 3 qualifications that you have to get, that we have here in the United States to define whether something falls under free speech or not. The nebulous nature of this test has given media a relatively free pass, but should existing laws become more readily enforceable, it could have a chilling effect on video games and anime. After all, didn't Jack Thompson and other moral Puritans of the late 20th century consider video games to lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value? Currently, the full text of the bill is unavailable, but you can keep up to date on the status of the bill here. So, yeah, insofar as like we're dealing with people who just, I don't know, people who just do not like fun and seem to want to like regulate everything by their own morals. I find this to be a bit objectionable. Because while oftentimes morality and law do align, morality and law, there are areas where those do not coincide. I.e. in the issues of like graphic material, of like violence in video games, and so on and so forth. I don't need to rehash those subjects. Generally speaking, not everything that is illegal, or sorry, not everything that is moral is legal, and not everything that is immoral is illegal. It is immoral to lie. Okay? To tell your mom that you cleaned your room when you didn't. That is immoral. That shouldn't be illegal. Effectively, legal should define when someone is being harmed by something. That is when legal comes in. Which is why I don't have a problem with a lot of like the even though I disagree with certain like content, like fetishes and all that, I don't have a problem with it because, well, are you harming someone? And when I say fetishes, I'm particularly talking like in regard to like the anime discussion stuff. I don't have as much of a problem with lolly stuff as I do actual wild corn. Because actual wild corn requires hurting a child. Whereas the lolly stuff you just draw. So who's being hurt by it? Morally objectionable? Yeah, I kind of agree. I do have a problem with like depending on how you define that content, I do have a problem with it. But morality in and of itself is not a means for regulating things. Regulations should apply strictly to when people are being harmed by something. That's why certain business laws are important, because businesses will harm people to make a profit. That's just a thing. That's what happens. That is human nature. Okay? You can't blame the system. You effectively got to blame humans. And we have to make laws because humans are pieces of shit. And no, that doesn't, just because humans are pieces of shit doesn't mean you can make a drug to kill them all. Okay? I do not want my moral objections to be law. Okay? There are certain things where I do think people being harmed should fall, like things where like people actually get harmed should fall under the law. I feel like making death threats on the internet should be subject to legal repercussions. Yeah, I said it. It's like, it's one thing if you're like in a group of friends, and I made this post on Twitter. Like, it's one thing if you are going to sling a threat at someone who you're familiar with, who understands that you're not going to act on it as a joke, because that person understands it's a joke. You cannot claim dark humor or whatever when you start threatening people, randoms on the internet. You should treat the internet just the same way you would treat walking down the street. Just because you are anonymous does not make it not real. So yeah, I have moral positions that I do not want regulated. It's as simple as that. And I feel like too many people find that their moral qualms with things interfere with their ability to judge whether they should be legal or not. And really, it comes down to harm for me. Is someone harmed by something? Simple as that. And we can get into the definition of harm, but that's for another time. We have some stupidity to cover here before I go into talking about my degeneracy. He said he was going to put a bunch of red grapes throughout my room. He didn't even have the common courtesy to use green grapes. Hold on. This is blasphemy. I would never bother someone with a red grape. It would always be green grapes. Okay. Always. Grapes are fucking fantastic, by the way. Just a random side note. I fucking love grapes. Oh boy. Okay, so let's talk about the stupidity here. Woman divorces her husband after ChatGTP analyzes coffee and saw signs of infidelity. A Greek woman has filed for divorce after ChatGTP read her husband's coffee and suggested he was having an affair. Well, we have AI ending marriages before GTA 6. Everything's coming out before GTA 6. A marriage of 12 years is coming to an end after a couple decided it would be fun to have ChatGTP read their Greek coffees and interpret the coffee grounds in the cups. According to Greek City Times, instead of getting a fun quip from the AI, the man's cup claimed he had been fantasizing about a woman with the initial E and was destined to begin a relationship with her. Meanwhile, ChatGTP analyzed her cup and claimed that her husband was already cheating with this mysterious woman who wanted to destroy their home. Originally, the man laughed off ChatGTP's analysis, but his wife had her heart broken. She took it seriously. She asked me to leave, told our kids we were getting divorced, and then I got a call from a lawyer. That's when I realized this wasn't just a phase. After not agreeing to a mutual separation, his wife served him with divorce papers 3 days later. The husband, however, maintains his innocence, with his lawyer adding that the AI chatbot has no legal standing. A few years ago, she visited an astrologer, and it took a whole year for her to accept that none of it was real. He added, recalling that his wife had a history when it comes to supernatural beliefs and is often into trendy things. This isn't the first time AI has caused relationship woes. Back in 2023, a spike in men texting AI chatbots on Instagram behind their partner's backs sparked a debate on what constituted cheating. So, fellas, make sure you don't find yourself a girl who's going to hold a grudge against you for something ChatGPT says. God, what a fucking world we live in. Imagine that. Imagine like you're married for 12 years, have kids, like you think everything's fine. And then your wife asks an AI if your coffee means anything. And it says that you're cheating on her. And she takes that completely seriously. That would fucking suck. Like, I feel bad for the guy. But I guess this is the part where I get myself in trouble, because now I have to talk a little bit about my own personal tastes. All right. So I brought this up at the beginning of the stream, but I found this after a couple of drinks, and I'm kind of already starting to regret this a little bit. This is basically a list of all the categories that you could look into when it comes to 18 plus kind of content. And here I am about to start talking about all of this and putting them on a tier list. What am I doing? What am I doing with myself? But I'm pot committed at this point. I've talked about it enough to where, like, even now that the alcohol is worn off and I don't really want to. Oh. Okay. So we'll start this. With 3D animation. Honestly, this one's a D tier to me because 3D animation just generally doesn't look good to me. It isn't the worst, but like it kind of fucking sucks overall. Never found anything good that has like that is full on like 3D animated. To answer this question, since it's the next one, what the fuck is Ahegal? This is basically when she enjoys it so much she can't help but express herself. Oops. Ahega is basically synonymous with she just had the best sex of her life. What the fuck am I doing with my life? AI generated. It's a D tier. Fuck AI. The AI generated stuff. Even like the things that people are like, oh wow, AI is getting so good. Look at this. Yes, that's kind of part of it. Where is Roman? So AI Ahegao is S tier. AI generated 3D animation. They're both D tier. They kind of suck for kind of the same reason. They just don't look good. Anal. Personally, I give it an A tier. I'm not as much of a fan of it as like I don't know other people seem to be, but it's a thing. It ain't the worst. BBM and BBW. I don't know. I feel like both of these are kind of like C tier because I'm not really into. I don't know. Like I like a well proportioned woman, but like sometimes you're a little too well proportioned. I don't like fat bitches, okay? And as every time I see this one get mentioned, it is just an excuse for fat bitches. It's as simple as that. So I'm not really a fan of either of those. Where that comment so kills me. BDSM. Yeah, this one's another C tier. I'm not into that shit like Roman is. Like I'm genuinely not into that kind of stuff. Beauty mark? I'll put that A tier. As far as fucking BDSM goes, I'm not into getting whipped or whipping people or whatever. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it, and that's gonna be that. Okay. Big ass. Really depends on how big, but generally A tier. Okay. Like I can respect it. I'm more of a big tits guy myself. I'm gonna put that at the top of A tier because I think it's um I think that's better. Um you do realize that this is gonna get clipped and made a members only like sort of thing, right? Like it'll be part of the live stream, sure, but I'm gonna well at that point, what's the point in making it members only? Kind of defeating my own logic here. There ain't no fucking point. Okay. Bikini. Never really cared much, so I'd put that one in B tier. Black hair. I don't know. I feel like black hair is just sort of like, nah. That's another one that I'm not really like super into. Blackmail. That's like some Netorare shit right there. C tier. Blindfold. Blindfold goes in B category. And not because it begins with a B, okay? Blonde? I'd actually put A tier. Blowjob. B tier. What the fuck is FFM? So FFM is a 2 women, 1 man threesome. That's what FFM is. Bondage. Again, not really into bondage. It goes right there next to BDSM. Brunette goes right there next to black hair. Bukkake. That's a C tier one, and this is the one that I think most people will probably hate me for, but I think Bunny Girl is just B tier. I don't care for the bunny suits, okay? I genuinely don't. There aren't there aren't a whole a lot of times where I have actually found those attractive, so it's like, and whatever. Cat Girl, I would give A tier. What the fuck? What the fuck? Censored. Dog shit. Fuck censorship. Collar. I'm not Roman. That can go with BDSM and bondage. That is C tier. Fuck that shit. Comedy. B tier. Condom. C tier. Like, there's, I don't know why you would search that. I guess some people are attracted to that. Cosplay depends on the cosplay, but I would give A tier. Cream pie. I'll put that in A tier. Cross dressing. I don't know. That one can go down near blackmail. Cunnilingus. A tier. Dark skin. I'd give that one A tier too. Deep throat is like literally the same thing as a blowjob. I don't get why those two are. You don't know what word is. Cunnilingus. Cunnilingus is basically just the technical term for eating pussy. Demon girl. No, that's a race thing. B tier. DILF. I'm not Roman. So DILF can go in C tier. I'm not into that. Double penetration. Double penetration in B tier. Dojin. A tier. Drugs. This is another one that I'm not really a fan of. Elf. Easy. S tier. All the way. 100%. Elves are the best. Okay. What the fuck? Excuse me. Fucked up. Here we go. Okay, we're back. Exhibitionism. I don't know. I feel like that's a C tier trope. Female only? B tier. There are way too many things on this list. I have no idea what they mean. You're not lonely enough, Biggles. That's why. Female virgin. B tier. Femdom. That is. I'm not into that. FFM. I'll put it in A tier right there. So ninja and assassin. Fingering. A tier. Foot job. I'm not a feet guy, so that one can go and see. Futanari. No, I don't think it's quite that bad, but it is pretty fucking awful. I'll put it down here by cross-dressing. Gag. I don't know why gag and bondage are two different things, but apparently they are. Gangbang. I don't know. I feel like that's a C tier. Gender bender, like bottom of C tier. Ginger, A tier. Glasses, S tier. Gloves, irrelevant. So I'm just going to put it in the B tier by bikini, pretty much. Group, C tier. Hand job is another C tier. Harem is S tier. Heart pupils. A tier. Regular hentai? I don't know what regular hentai is, so I'm not even going to talk about that. It's kind of along the same lines as Ahego. It just says image. What am I supposed to make this? Impregnation. Shinzo Abe approved. Incest. Really depends on the kind of incest, so it goes in the B tier. If we're talking about like the step bro kind of stuff, okay. If we're like, I would put it higher. But if we're talking about like actual siblings and all that, yeah, I'm not really into that. Hold on a second. I have a brief bit of of research to do here. I need to look something up because I'm not familiar with this one. Inflation. Okay. Honestly, not that interesting. Bring shit. Where is it? Okay. So inflation basically means that basically the stomach area swelling up like a balloon, whether it's being filled with gas or tentacles or whatever the fuck sort of degenerate shit you're putting in there. Oh shit! Here's another one that I do not know. Oh, kimono mini. So basically, animal ears. B tier. Kissing. Ultimate lewdness. Lactation. C tier. Oh, lingerie. A tier. Oh, now here's the one that it really depends on definition, but I'm gonna go by like literally the like straight definition that I know it as. As far as lolicon goes, um, that's C tier shit. Honestly, not really a fan of that. Maid A tier. I'll give it that. Masturbation. Fuck you. Genuinely, fuck you. I B, I guess. MILF S tier. Mind break. This is another thing that I don't care for. Mind break, mind control. All right, later, questioners. Have a good night. Male, mind break. Mind break is basically brainwashing someone. That's what mind break is. This can go in that category right there. B tier. Monster. Yes, do hit the like button. I would appreciate that. Mother is basically just incest. So it did really same shit applies as incest. Honestly, if we're talking about like stepson, step sibling, whatever, I don't really give a fuck. But if it's I'm okay with that. But if it's like actual blood related shit, that's kind of muscles. A tier. Netorare. The Korean secret sauce. C tier. Nurse. A tier. you don't know what netorare means. So netorare is basically cheating. Netorare is literally derived from the word for taking away. It's basically someone leaves you because the other guy has a bigger dick. That is netorare. Piercing. I genuinely don't care. So like that one. POV. That one can go in C tier. Pregnant. C tier. Prostitution. That's another C tier. The big R word. It's like C tier trope. Red hair. A tier. Pupils. C tier. This one can go right next to the other one. Rim job. C tier. Scat is a D tier. Schoolboy uniform. Both the uniform ones are C tier. Shotokan can go right next to Lolicon. Sister. Small tits is S tier. Where did I? Oh, I fucked up. Big tits, small tits. All tits are great. Solo female. A tier. Solo male. Wait, does that mean what I think it means? I have to double check that. Okay. Solo male is basically just like only one dude is there. So it's not like a gang. It's not like a gang bang or something. That checks out. Stockings. S tier. Stomach deformation. That kind of goes along with inflation, honestly. Where did I put that? There we go. Sweating. I don't know. Swimsuit. B tier. Tail. Tan lines. A tier. Teacher. I do like that one. Tentacles. C tier. Tit job. A tier. Tom girl. No thank you. Toys. Not really interested. Tsundere. Tsunderes are S tiers. Uncensored. S tier. Urination can go with scat. X-ray. Oops, S tier. Yaoi can go there. And I guess the lesbians can go in A tier. So there you go. More about me than you will ever need to know. Oh god, what the fuck have I done? Oh. And that is effectively how I feel about stuff. And I mean, you can basically now guess the kind of things I'm into. Congratulations if that's something you wanted to know. Like I said, more than you would ever want to know about me. But this is information out here now because drunk me decided it would be funny, committed, and fucking A. But if you're this far in, I appreciate y'all hanging around. I genuinely do. Should pull this down while I close out the stream. Thank you everyone who showed up. There were quite a few people who were in this chat at one point. I do genuinely appreciate it. Like I said earlier, I'm probably not likely to stream these next couple of days. Just because there are some other things I want to do. I have some videos I want to work on, other projects, things I got to sort out in life, all that, the usual, how it goes. But I will be doing videos still, and if I do something, it'll be some sort of impromptu chill game stream, probably end up playing Minecraft or doing something like that and just hanging out. Maybe I'll find you showed up just in time to miss me ranking hentai tropes. And just in time for me to end the show. Okay. So if you haven't watched it yet, I would love if you guys would go check out the latest video on Apocalypse Hotel. I hope you have a great long weekend if you're here in the States celebrating Memorial Day. And I hope you all have a good night. Me, I'm Crimson Law. You can find me here on YouTube. I also have a Twitch that I do use occasionally if you'd rather watch over there. And you can find me on Twitter at Crimson Lawson, where I talk about a lot of shit. Thank you, everyone, for making these streams worthwhile for me, hanging out, participating. I do genuinely enjoy it. And that's going to be a wrap for tonight. So, play us out.